What's going on, you guys? The Keith Carnes here, and welcome back to my channel. Now, if quality seems a little different here in this episode, I apologize greatly. I'm actually being forced to film via my phone. So I'm actually filming this on a Galaxy cell phone. So I apologize if the quality is a little lesser than already less. Yeah. So it's been a little over a month since I was here. I know some people that follow my channel are probably wondering where I am. I've been trying my best to find a way to upload without having to do it this way, but unfortunately this seems to be the only way as of this time for me to get any content out there, and I've been dying to bring you guys new content, so I want to bring you this content today. So today we're talking about a very, very serious subject, something that I have actually really never touched on in the past, other than stating what other YouTubers, other investigators, etc. have already stated, and that is about Chris Benoit's brain when he died. When they dissected his brain, they found that his brain resembled that of a 85-year-old Alzheimer patient. Now, people take this as their ultimate goal to prove that Chris Benoit did not have all this brain damage, he did not have Alzheimer's, and that he was very much in control of his actions back when he committed the atrocities. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because people seem to really misconstrue what they meant when they what they meant with their findings in Chris Benoit's brain. When they said that it resembled the brain of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's, they were not saying he had Alzheimer's, and that seems to be a huge misconception among people, whether it be fans or people on the outside that are just talking about it because it's been brought up in a forum or something. That's something that people really need to understand, is that this case these people did not sit here in this case and say, yeah, we believe he had Alzheimer's. They never said that. In fact, they've actually said quite the opposite, that he had extreme brain damage and his brain was so fucked up. Excuse my language, but that's the only way to really describe it. His brain was so screwed up that it resembled what a 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient's brain would look like. So they're comparing them. They're not sitting here saying he had Alzheimer's. There has been no claim whatsoever that has ever even hinted that he had Alzheimer's, but simply said that his brain was so bad that's what it looked like. But they weren't saying it looks like he has it. No, they were saying that will explain why he did what he did. And I think that that's really what it comes down to. I've actually touched on this very little in past videos, but I've never really thought that Chris Benoit actually had Alzheimer's until I started reading recently up on his brain damage, where people were legitimately sitting here and saying, yeah, he had Alzheimer's, and that's bullshit because my grandfather had Alzheimer's and he couldn't even wipe his own ass, la la la. And this is actually, I'm taking this very loosely from a quote I saw on the internet, and it's like, dumbass, they never said he had Alzheimer's. They said his brain was comparable to an Alzheimer's patient, but that he didn't actually have the illness. So when people are looking for answers as to why Chris Benoit did what he did, there you go. I mean, that should be pretty cut and dry for people, I think, but unfortunately it's not. Like I said in the past, people want someone to blame. Is Chris Benoit to blame? At the end of the day, absolutely, to a certain extent. I don't think that he's really one to blame 100% on. I don't think he was a monster. I don't think it had anything to do with steroids. His fucking brain was scrambled. Okay? I know that's a bit blunt, maybe little brutal to say, but that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. And sitting here and saying, oh, he didn't have Alzheimer's, yeah, nobody said he did. I'm kind of going into rant mode here, but it just angers me because people will never take mental illness seriously, and it just really pisses me off because Chris Benoit was a great example of somebody that did not get the help that they so desperately needed, and the people around him did not recognize the warning signs. I mean, his best friend MVP said not long before the murders that Chris Benoit said, and I quote, "Sometimes I feel like I'm losing my mind." End quote. So when Chris Benoit is sitting here saying something like that to someone, you know, and I'm not saying it's MVP's fault. I would never say that. It was nobody's fault. But to sit here, it's hot here in California, holy shit. But to sit here and say that Chris Benoit did not show any signs of being crazy, I don't believe that at all. I think that's bullshit. I think there's times when people really thought that Chris was acting off, but they don't want to admit it because then what? People will be like, well, why didn't you say something? And I'm not blaming these people for not coming forward, but MVP kind of touching on it kind of shows me MVP knew more about Benoit's situation than other people are willing to admit. And I really respect MVP for saying that and coming out and saying that about it and saying, look, he said this to me and I just brushed it off. And who wouldn't? I mean, really, before the whole thing happened, would you have really pictured Chris Benoit killing anybody? Anybody? No, of course you wouldn't. Nobody would. And that's what makes this case so crazy and surreal even, is the fact that this guy was a hero to so many and then he ends his life in such a horrible way. And instead of sitting here and looking at the facts that his brain was fucking scrambled, equivalent to scrambled eggs, people just say here, it was roid rage, because the stupid fucking news tells you that. And that's a lie. It's not because of roid rage. In fact, steroids have never been proven to cause this kind of behavior. People say, well, roid rage and outbursts. Yeah, the person may be violent for a short period of time, but not enough to, over a 2-day weekend, to fucking murder 2 people in himself. That's bullshit. It has nothing to do with steroids. The guy had extreme brain damage. Case closed. Why do you think, okay, why do you think that the WWE doesn't allow chair shots to the skull? That was happening up until the Benoit tragedy. People were getting cracked over the head with steel chairs. Now, are they? No, they're not. Because it was directly linked. Where else was Benoit getting these extreme concussions? Where else was Benoit getting brain damage? Getting hit over the fucking head with a chair. Doing the diving headbutt full force and not protecting himself. One of his most infamous moments ever of probably causing some brain damage as it happened was at WrestleMania 21 in the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. When he does his diving headbutt off the ladder onto Kane, and not only busts his stitches open, which shows that he made full contact with his fucking head, but then he even kind of goes into a seizure type of thing. Now, that may have been overselling by Benoit, I'm sure it probably was, but if it was enough to break stitches, he did not protect himself the way he should have protected himself, and that's how Benoit was. He was a showman. He liked to make it as real as possible, and even made it real. And I think that cost him in the end. So, wow, this video went way longer than I expected. But that's just something I wanted to clear up and get my opinion out there. I know you guys like to hear my opinions on some of these cases, Chris Benoit being one of them. I've made many Benoit videos in the past, but this is, I feel that this is my most honest with you guys, instead of trying to be politically correct or not hurt people's feelings or trying to make it quick. This is how I honestly feel about this case. It's such a devastating case. It's such a horrific case. And unfortunately, we're not allowed to remember Chris Benoit, you know? Unfortunately, we can't. I mean, we can on the WWE Network, but it'll never be the same. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. As a fan of Chris Benoit, it's really sad that the guy will never get the recognition he deserves because his brain was destroyed. And people can blame Benoit, say rotten hell to Benoit. I know that, you know, when Nancy's sister, I think last year or so, when she came out and talked about Chris Benoit brutalizing her sister, saying how violent he was with her, I'm sure he was, but that doesn't negate the fact the guy had brain damage. There's been plenty of mentally ill people out there that have killed people in brutal ways, and it turned out that they were insane, mentally insane. How can you hold somebody accountable that's mentally insane? You can't. You can't. So anyway, guys, this is E. Keith Carnes. I hope you enjoyed this little rant, but I just want to get my opinion out there. I hope some people that are not very familiar with the case come into this and watch this and say, oh, okay. Hopefully you guys can take away something at this. I wasn't trying to attack anybody. I wasn't calling anybody really stupid, though I think you are stupid just to take the news's point of view instead of doing your own research. If you're really interested in this case, I would love to discuss it with you in the comments below. This is E. Keith Carnes. Thank you so much for watching, and if there is any other kind of video you'd like to see subject, it doesn't have to be Chris Benoit related, it could be anything, let me know down in the comments below. I will see what I can do. Give you a shout out like I have in the past. Thank you for enjoying this episode of Raw Cut. Sorry it's a little longer than expected. Didn't expect to go on a rant here, but that's just kind of the way things work out on this show. Nothing's planned. It's all off the top of my head. And this has been a really fun episode. I've really enjoyed talking about this. I hope you guys, like I said, I hope you guys took away something from this more than just a rant. I hope you understand where I was coming from and my anger with it. And hopefully we can get a little more recognition for people that are mentally ill, because I think it's a very, very sad situation that mentally ill people are not taken seriously. So, it is what it is. This is Keith Carnes. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Rock Cut, and I will see you guys in the next. Take it easy and be safe.